All right, for this problem, we're going to compute the total and annual return on the following investment. 2 years after paying $2,400 for shares in a startup company, you sell the shares for $2,300 at a loss. The first thing we need to do is determine what the total return is, and we're going to do that by using the following formula. So total return will be equal to this formula. We have big A minus big P all over big P. And then we have to determine what is A and what is P. P is going to be the original principal. And A is going to be your accumulated balance. So, as I said, P is the original principal, A is your accumulated balance. For this particular problem, P is going to be equal to $2,400. A will be equal to $2,300. So TR, our total return, is going to be equal to $2,300 minus $2,400. And then we're going to divide that by $2,400. All right, so for this problem, we have 2,300 minus 2,400 divided by 2,400. We're going to use web2.0calc.com to do the calculations. I'm going to click open parentheses. I'm going to type in 2300. I can either use the keyboard or I can use the mouse as I'm doing right now. I'm going to subtract from that 2400, close the set of parentheses. Then I'm going to divide, and I'm going to divide that by 2,400. You'll notice that up here, where the mouse is moving and just highlighted, that looks exactly like what I have written in the problem. And that's the beauty of this particular program. So if I go ahead and I left click equals, this is going to give me a fraction and a decimal equivalent. So the fraction is equal to negative 1 over 24, which definitely coincides with the fact that we're looking at a loss here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use the conversion to the decimal, which is negative 0.0416, repeating, so I'm going to round it to 67. Now, I need to convert this into a percentage by multiplying by 100. Once I multiply this by 100, what I'm going to get is the fact that the total return as a percentage is equal to a negative 4.17%. That means that my investment lost 4.17% of its initial value. So the investment now remember, we got that because we multiplied this value right here by 100. Okay? And that's where we get this percentage from. Now we need to calculate the annual return. And the annual return is going to be a percentage yield, i.e. the APY, annual percentage yield. And that's going to talk about exactly what my growth was and what I had as an annual return over this particular investment. The annual return formula, which can also be found in the textbook, is given by the following. So annual return is going to be equal to the fraction big A over big P raised to the 1 over y, big Y power, and that's going to subtract 1 from that. And now we need to go ahead and redefine. We already know what A and P is from the previous part of the problem, but we're going to define Y as being the investment period in years. In other words, how long did we go ahead and do this particular investment? And that should be investment period in years. Well, if we go back to the original problem, we'll see that it says after 2 years. Okay? So my P is going to be 2400, which we had right here. The A is 2300, and then Y is now going to be 2 years. So I go ahead and I know that this is going to be equal to 2,300 divided by 2,400. I'm going to raise that to the 1/2 power, and then I'm subtracting 1. Once again, I want to use the online calculator that we were talking about. So what we do is we go ahead and we bring in the calculator, okay? And I want you to be able to see everything that I'm doing. So I'm going to clear this by left-clicking C. And then I want to go ahead and put in my values. Let me move this so we can see that. It's going to be 2,300 over 2,400. We're going to raise that to the 1/2 power. Then we're going to subtract 1. Notice that that subtract 1 is going to be outside of the parentheses. So type in open parentheses. Then we're going to do okay, now that we've entered the parentheses, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and type in the fraction. 2,300 divided by 2,400. We're going to close the parentheses. So we go ahead and left click, close parentheses. Now, like I said, you can use the keyboard if you so desire. We are then going to raise this to the 1/2 power. Now this is we can rewrite it as a square root if we want, but what we're going to do is we're going to use this key right here, which means that we're going to take and we're going to raise to a higher power. X is going to be what I'm raising to the power, Y is the power. So I left click that, and you'll see that it uses the little hat key, which can also be discovered by using Shift 6 on your keyboard. Once again, I'm going to open parentheses because this is a fractional exponent. And I will type in 1 and divided by 2. Once again, you'll notice that this is exactly what's written on the paper. I'm going to close the parentheses, and now I'm going to subtract 1 from that. Subtract 1. And you'll see that it's down here. If this is not full size, for some reason it's back up here with the 1/2, that means that it's not been entered correctly. So, as I said, and let me show you once again, we'll go right here. You can see exactly how I have it written right here. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and look at the calculator again, and we will left click equals. And that gives me the number, negative 0.021054. And I don't need to keep this whole thing, okay, because my math lab is only going to require me to write it to a certain level. So let's go ahead and just write down what this equals. This is going to be equal to negative 0.021, and let's go to 0.5. Once again, I need to multiply this by 100 to get a percent. So if I multiply by 100, I'm given the fact that it's a negative 2.11%. And that is my annual yield, which means that I had a negative annual yield over the course of 2 years. Okay? Okay, so now we know what our formula is. Big A over big P raised to the 1 over y power minus 1. Remember, the investment period is in years, so I write out my form 2,300 divided by 2,400 raised to the 1/2 power minus 1. This is going to give me negative 0.02105, and I'm going to bring in the online calculator and show you exactly how that's done in just a moment. We then want to take that and multiply by 100 to get the percent, and that's going to be my annual return as a percent. So the annual return is negative 2.11%. And that's over the course of 2 years. So don't forget that this is 2 years. Now let's go ahead and bring the calculator in. Let's type it in full. We're going to left click, open parentheses. Then we're going to left click 2300, divide 2400. I'm going to close the parentheses, and I'm going to go over here to the power button. This is going to raise the 2,300 divided by 2,400 to some value y. Notice that it gives me the little hat key right in here, and that's good. And I can also get that by typing Shift-6 on my keyboard. Once again, I'm going to open parentheses because I'm going to be doing a division. It's going to be 1 divided by the number of years, which in this case is 2. And notice that it's giving me exactly what we have written, 2,300 over 2,400 raised to the 1/2 power. Now up here in the display field right here, if I left click, close parentheses, I can now do the minus 1, and it's going to show up outside the parentheses and outside the exponent. Once I do that, I just left click 0, and I get this value right here, negative 0.02105. And that's exactly what I put right here on my work, is negative 0.02105. And like I said, I multiplied by 100 to get the annual return. Now let's go ahead and actually enter that into my math lab to make sure that we've done it correctly. So this is going to be a negative 4 point, and it says round to the nearest tenth. So I have negative 4.17. We'll type it in as negative 4.2. We'll check answer. It tells me well done. Click OK. It brings up the next part of the question, the annual return. And we got negative 2.11 when we did the calculations. We're going to round to the nearest tenth, so negative 2.1. We go ahead and click check answer, and we're done with the problem.